Hi, this is Carol Pope.
Hi, I'm Kevin Staples.
And you're listening to Rainbow Country
with Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, professional feminization makeup artist and stylist Jamie B is my guest and joins me to talk about just what it takes to feminize. That and more in episode 411, so stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hello, my name is Conchita.
And I'm Barbecue.
And my name is Hardcora. And we are the Beat Girls.
You're listening to
Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT-FM in Toronto and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada, from coast to coast to coast. The Yukon, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the east coast of Canada in Newfoundland, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together, we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's Gay and Lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as a #1 Canadian LGBT podcast on Feedspot.com. So today, professional feminization makeup artist and stylist Jamie B joins me to talk about her latest book, Curves and Confidence, the Girly Guide to Your Unique Journey in Femininity. We'll find out just what it takes to feminize an individual and more. Plus an hour or two, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house, and on this episode I'm featuring some 80s gay dance floor hits, some queer a cappella, and more. All that lies ahead as we start Journey 411 through Rainbow Country. Our first stop, the Rainbow Country Bookstore. Today, award-winning best-selling author Michael Bach reads from his latest book, Alphabet Soup, the essential guide to LGBTQ2+ inclusion at work. By the way, Alphabet Soup on Amazon.ca has a rating of 4.7 out of 5 stars.
Alphabet Soup is a guide that will take you, my faithful reader, on a journey of discovery with the objective of turning you and your organization into active allies, a term I explain in the book. Like it or not, LGBTQ2+ people need allies to help us achieve that elusive goal of true inclusion. Everything in this book can be applied to a workplace and engaging with employees, as well as interactions with volunteers, customers, students, parishioners, or just everyday people on the street. When it comes to LGBTQ2+ inclusion at work and in communities, I'm always reminded of one of my favorite conversations. Many years ago, I was speaking with the head of HR for an organization located in a Western European country that shall remain nameless to protect the guilty. She was telling me about the company's work in diversity and inclusion, with no mention of work in the LGBTQ2+ communities. When I probed, she defensively explained that they don't discuss, quote, these things, end quote, at work. I looked over at a photo on her desk and asked if the man in it with her was her husband, to which she responded in the affirmative. It was a wedding photo, and she was wearing a white wedding dress, so chances were good. I pointed out that the photo was a statement of her sexual orientation. I likely didn't need to ask her what sexual orientation she identified with because she had it on display. I probably should have asked, but let's focus on the point. That was an eye-opening moment for her. Organizations don't think about how much it costs to not create inclusive space for LGBTQ2+ folks. But the price tag can be quite hefty. There's the cost of lower levels of engagement, the cost of higher levels of voluntary turnover, the cost of recruitment, the cost of decreased innovation. And just like when I enter a wine store, that bill can add up fast. So how do you quantify the cost? I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out. Then, around 2005, someone from IBM shared a model with me. The first time I saw it, I thought, this is exactly what I've been trying to explain. And I used it to build a business case for why my employer needed an LGBTQ2+ employee resource group. At the top of the list of issues is the fact that the approach to educating on diversity and inclusion is traditionally one and done. You put everyone through a voluntary program and you're good, right? This is what I like to refer to as wrong. The first mistake is that your employee population isn't static. The average employee turnover rate is about 18%, but that can be a lot higher in some industries, like food service or retail. One food service employer I worked with had a turnover rate of nearly 75% of frontline workers. By the time you've trained everyone, you need to start back at the beginning to capture new people. And that cycle continues endlessly. Education should be part of onboarding. From the day a person starts, there should be mandatory D&I education, obviously with specific LGBTQ2+ content, driven by a D&I learning map that takes each person through a learning journey. The second mistake in the one-and-done approach is the idea that one program covers it all. If Black Lives Matter has shown us anything, it's that we have a lot of work to do to educate people on anti-Black and anti-Indigenous systemic racism. And that's just one topic. The conversation on LGBTQ2+ inclusion is constantly evolving, and so should your education program.
When I return, we find out all about feminization.
Glad Day Bookshop started in Gerald Moldenhauer's backpack around 1972. Gerald figured that to build community we needed access to our history, our culture, our literature, our porn. He started schlepping books and magazines from one queer event to another to sell. As the collection got bigger, he moved it to a hall in the commune where he lived, in an old house on Seton Street in downtown Toronto. In those days, to see the books, you needed to phone first to make an appointment to come over. Glad Day finally opened a fully fledged store in the late 1970s, and that's when the more public profiles started causing problems. An issue with the Canadian book business is that a lot of titles are published elsewhere and therefore need to be imported, and that means they all have to pass through Canada Customs. And Canada Customs in those days was not about to let dirty, smutty, queer literature cross the border to corrupt innocent Canadians. Glad Day started having books seized and shipments blocked starting in 1977. It got worse in the 80s. Even The Joy of Gay Sex got banned as obscene. And even if books got through customs, they were still not safe. In April 82, police raided Glad Day and charged employee Kevin Orr with selling obscene material. And that wouldn't be the last raid. Glad Day was embroiled in court cases for years. Some American publications actually started producing special Canadian editions with pages blanked out to get them across the border. In 1983, partners Bruce Smythe and Jim Deva started a gay bookstore in Vancouver called Little Sisters. Little Sisters was soon experiencing customs seizures as well. What was infuriating was that big mainstream bookstores were now importing and selling many of the same titles without a problem. It was just small, gay-run bookstores that were being targeted. Little Sisters also fought the custom seizures through the courts, but it took years and thousands of dollars before the Supreme Court finally decided that the seizures were a violation of the Charter of Rights. That was in 2000. Customs still had the right to stop materials, but the onus was on them to prove they were obscene. Customs censorship finally began to grind to a halt. By this time, queer material was widely available, and the digital age meant that borders were being largely irrelevant anyway. But today, both Glad Day and Little Sisters continue to operate as bookstores. Glad Day is actually the oldest surviving gay bookstore in the world. So if you are in Toronto or Vancouver, be sure to check them out. They're part of the living history of our community. This is Tim McCaskill, author of Queer Progress.
Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Jamie B., hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Mark Tara?
I am well. Thank you for being here, to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for being here. I want to...
It's an honor.
You are a professional feminization makeup artist and stylist. You have a new ebook that's out called Curves and Confidence, the Girly Guide for Your Unique Journey in Femininity. I want to start here with yourself. Professional feminization makeup artist. Professional feminization makeup artist. Talk to me about what this means and what it entails.
It's the first thing I want to say is that it's a privilege to be able to do this. It's I basically, in a nutshell, I feminize from cross-dressers to trans women, non-binary, gender fluid. It doesn't matter who you are. I believe that femininity is innately in us, just like masculine energy. And the clients that come to me, they want to express that, and I help them feel aligned with the way they feel on the inside, from head to toe. At my studio, which is very private and discreet, I offer everything from wigs to the actual transformative makeup application. I have wardrobe, I have the shapewear, heels, everything that would, create that vision that they have in their minds of how they want to look based on how they feel on the inside. So I'm there on that journey with them, and everyone's unique. I always say there's no timeline, there's no real rules to abide by. It's really just an honor to be there to guide them as a trusted source, and I've been doing this for 10 years.
So you just mentioned you work with cross-dressers, you work with members of the transgender community. How do these people tap into your expertise? How do they find you? And how do you find them? How do you guys find each other?
Google. You got to love Google. I guess having done this for such a long time, the SEO just brings it up when you type in feminization or male to female makeover. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not hard to find.
Do you find that your cross-dressing clientele, I'm assuming these are men being transformed into women. Mm-hmm. Do you find that these individuals, that they tend to be married, straight, across the board, all various shapes and forms? What are you finding?
I'm finding that the majority are indeed hetero. They are married. Then there's a few that actually, once transformed, feel that they're attracted to the same sex. It's interesting. A lot of them, with just dealing with cross-dressers, they feel it every now and then. To them, it's akin to, having an interest, just a hobby.
Would you say would you say for some individuals it's a fetish?
Yes. For sure. Yes.
Right.
Yes. For some. But the vast majority that I deal with, they really just want to feel that feminine energy, for the day, and then they just go back to their male lives, but when they're in, on FOM, it's amazing. There's a transformation happening, in their whole being, even if it's just for that short little while until they wash off their makeup and undress back to their male form. That's what the cross-dressers. Yeah. And a lot of them, their wives don't know, which I guess makes me feel a little guilty in that sense. But for more that I've been seeing, more of them are saying that their partner is aware, and she's either A, supportive, or B, it's more like, do what you need to do, but I want no part in it. Like, less is more. Mm-hmm. So it really splits up. It really runs the gamut, I find, with cross-dressers.
It's complicated. It's human.
It is. It's so human. It's just a reminder that we don't really fall into any kind of hard rules, the human spirit. And that's what I'm finding from what I do. It is very fluid in many ways.
There's a great documentary that came out a year or so ago, Casa Susanna, along with a photographic gallery exhibition. It's about the world's first cross-dressing community getaway that was up in the Catskills in the 60s.
Oh wow!
It's so well done. But in part of that, they talk about these people these men that would come to Casa Susanna to transform for the weekend or however long, that they were upwardly mobile. They were straight men. They were married men. That sort of thing. And it's so fascinating, especially to dovetail on what you were just talking about with some of the clientele that you have, that these people are just being human and following their their desires and want to live their life and want to essentially live their lives,
live their truth. This is a part of who they are. A lot of them, they started feeling this way when they were children. They were just fascinated by, their mom's lingerie. That's why my book talks about the feel of the fabric, one of the chapters, because it is such a sensorial experience for them. And it's not always sexual. Like it's almost nostalgic. It brings up a lot of memories for them from childhood. Like you said, it's complicated. It's an experience. And at the same time, it's very much an escape. A lot of them talk to me about when they sit down in my chair, they feel my makeup chair, they feel instantly relaxed. The boundaries are melting away. They feel like they could be themselves. They're not caught up, in the quote unquote toxic masculinity and having to uphold that. Even if it's for just a few hours during an appointment, they could just let go and just feel softness, that feminine flow. It's not rigid. It's the opposite. And with that comes a lot of feelings of peace and just serenity for them.
You also mentioned that some of your clients are transgender. When you see members from the trans community, what are they coming to you for specifically? Can you talk to me about that aspect?
So trans women, they are living full-time in their minds, I want to say, full-time as a woman. It's something they've always felt. It doesn't just turn on. And they come to me for advice. More, I would say more for styling advice, the aesthetic part where, again, they want to align with the feminine, their feminine quality inside. They want to align with it on the outside so that, it doesn't look exaggerated, or, they're looking for pointers of just looking passable. Like there's a big, focus on passability among the community, the trans community, whereas they don't want to look like
they want to look natural. They want to look natural compared to looking like a drag queen, let's say, where everything is exaggerated.
It's exaggerated for performance. Exactly. Mm-hmm. They want to go out for a cup of coffee. They want to go shopping, get some gas, go through a drive-through. They want to do normal things, and not to say cross-dressers don't want that as well, because that's what they want to do as well in their free time. Some of them like to go out, sure, and they go to Club M4 on Tuesdays or whatnot, but it's more just the passability aspect of not looking exaggerated. Like you said, it's they want to blend into the public. They don't want to, stick out and in a bad way, and if they get complimented by a woman, it makes their day because they know they're on target, and I ensure that down to, what hairstyle they have, what kind of makeup, what colors we're going to use. We're not going to wear glitter eyeshadow 2:00 in the afternoon. If you want a little sparkle, we can incorporate that. But I teach them as I transform them so that the end result is what they envision. It's just very hard for them to maybe put it into words. So it's a very visual, hands-on kind of appointment that I do. It's very intimate.
And on that note, we'll return after this Rainbow Country update.
Hi, I'm Paul Poirier, Canadian champion in ice dance and 3-time Olympian, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Canada's LGBTQ2+ archives just released Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada. Order a copy from your local bookstore to dive into hundreds of loud and proud stories and photos of historical queer life in Canada from pre-1939 to today. Get your copy from your local bookstore. Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada. On Friday, June 14th, 2024, I received the Out Loud Best in LGBT+ Radio Programming Award from the NCRA, the National Community Radio Association. I received that award for my episode on Operation Soap, the Toronto bathhouse raids of 1981, and I couldn't be more proud. I have to say, I share this award with my special guest on that episode, activist, author, and historian, Tim McCaskill. So, as you know, Rainbow Country airs on broadcast radio, streaming, and as an edited podcast. Most of those outlets and platforms are listener-supported. So if you think what I'm doing here on Rainbow Country, working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond, is worthwhile, I hope you'll consider making a donation to this very outlet you are tuned to. If you happen to be listening to the edited podcast version, I hope you'll consider making a donation to an outlet that does carry Rainbow Country. How can you do this? Simple. Head over to marktara.com where everything is connected, and hit the donation banner. That's where you'll find a list of all the outlets that carry Rainbow Country. A little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. Let your voice, let your support be heard.
Hi, I'm Carol B., the host and producer of radio programs Ruby Slippers and Through the Looking Glass. In many parts of the world, one will be excluded or even persecuted just for being gay. And so it's so very important to have a program like Rainbow Country, whose mandate is to provide a platform for the LGBT community to have a voice, share ideas, and promote inclusiveness. Through thought-provoking interviews, review of cultural events, and music, your host and producer, Mark Tara, showcases the very best the LGBT community has to offer. Rainbow Country, 2 hours well spent.
Hi, I'm Eric Radford, Olympic and world champion figure skater, pianist, and composer, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
So Jamie B., you're originally from New York City, I believe, and you've been
I am.
And you've been doing feminization makeup for over a decade. What got you into this specific type of makeup? Feminization makeup, compared to just being a makeup artist. Why this particular style of makeup?
I find it very gratifying when I'm able to not just do makeup, but I'm able to transform a person into how they really view themselves on the inside. And I do that because, and that's how I incorporate the reveal aspect in my appointment. Usually I'll turn them around, fix the wig, turn them around, and by then they're already fully dressed, makeup's done. There's tears, there's emotions. I find it a privilege. I just find it very fulfilling to be able to help change lives, because that's what I'm doing essentially. People trust me. They let me into their lives. For many people that show up at my doorstep, they're like, listen, you're the only person who knows about this, or you're the first person I'm telling about this to, or is going to see me in a pair of, breast forms and hip enhancers and a dress. You are the first point of contact that I'm making from the inside onto the external world, and I get that often with my clients, and it's just such a fulfilling, I keep saying it, but it really is a privilege to be able to be on their journey with them.
Did you have
see them grow? Yeah.
When you were, a teenager, late teens, early 20s, that sort of thing, did you have, or even now, did you have a lot of friends that were, trans or cross-dressers, that sort of thing, where you saw like there was a need for this?
I wouldn't say, I grew up in the 90s, so, if they were there, they certainly weren't talking about it, you know what I mean? Like, there was definitely more of a stigma and a taboo. It's not like how it is today at all. So if I did, I definitely had friends that were gay or lesbian, yeah, for sure. But in terms of actual trans or crossdresser, I don't think it was something that was really talked about. I didn't really come across that. But I'm sure I was in contact with people like that for sure, especially from New York, And going to, I went to FIT, with Fashion Institute of Technology, which is, there's a lot of various souls that attend, creative souls and people that like to express themselves. So yeah, I wasn't sheltered in that way. No.
And I hope you don't mind me asking this. For me, I'm gay. I don't consider myself gender non-binary. I am androgynous. For me, myself, I'm a mix of both male and female energies, and I just try to be the best darn me I can be, and I often fail at that.
Oh, come on.
For yourself.
We all fail at it sometimes. We're only human.
Yes, we are. For yourself, you're obviously an ally to the LGBT community, but are you part of the LGBT community? Are you trans yourself, or are you just, a cis woman doing her thing?
Yeah, I'm a cis woman doing my thing. I mean, I can't say I haven't questioned it. I mean, if it's appropriate to say, I've never intimately been with a woman, but I have kissed women, and there is a difference in that energy as well.
Let me stop you there.
Yeah.
You said you've kissed a woman, and you said that there is a difference there. What's the difference? Can you shed some light on that from your perspective? Between kissing a man and a woman.
There's like this intuition. It's almost like she feels what I feel, and I just feel more connected to her.
Wow.
Whereas with a man, I mean, there's definitely that sense of, okay, this is the opposite sex. Like with a woman, it's just, it almost flows, in some ways. It's effortless. Mm-hmm.
And when you kiss a man, do you feel as if there's someone bigger there and you have to be more submissive then?
Absolutely. Definitely. It's these energies at play that we don't necessarily know where they come from or how they work, but there's definitely that play in it. Yes. Absolutely. But it's not like that with a woman. It's an even playing field.
Wow.
For me anyway. Yeah.
Well said. When you are doing transformations, when you are working with, say, a cross-dresser compared to someone from the trans community, is there a difference in regards to how you approach these makeovers, these transformations, or do you approach them the same way?
I like to approach everything from an individual's aspect. Like even before we meet up, I'm emailing back and forth with them. So there is a little bit of rapport that's established. They don't just show up. So I get to know them. But with the cross-dresser, no, I can't say there's a real difference in my approach. My goal is to feminize you, and you got to tell me, what your limits are. For instance, with a cross-dresser, some of them, they just want to see what they look like as a woman because they've been thinking about it their whole lives, and then I'll be like, oh my God, like, we're not done yet. Like, we got to do your nails. And they're like, don't worry about it. Whereas with trans women, like, that's rarely a thing. You can't omit that. Like, that's just part of the makeover, like, we are doing nails. Like, it helps me feel who I am. So there's a little bit of difference for sure, but the energy is very strong. The feminine energy in both is very strong. And I don't know if it's my studio that's because it's pink with gold accents that just kind of aids in that experience for them. But whatever mode they're in when they're with me, they're very responsive to the feminine energy. What cross-dresser or with the cross-dresser, I'd say even their voice changes a little bit. When I'm done with their transformation and I've done the reveal, their voice gets softer, gets a little higher pitched. And a lot of times they're not doing it they're just being themselves. Like, they're not trying. It's amazing to see how that energy works. The feminine energy, the shift.
Where is your studio located?
I'm in Ajax, Ontario.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So just east of the city. It's about 40-minute drive from Toronto, I'd say, downtown.
Do you ever do drag kings?
No. I haven't. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but no, I haven't.
And that being, a woman transforming into a man to, go up on stage and lip sync and do some drag, and that's known as being a drag king.
Yes. I do know of one, but a friend. It's the wife of a friend of mine, but. Yeah, no, I've never actually had any women. I mean, I have, cisgender women for the typical stuff, bridal, whatever, headshots. But no, I haven't. And same with I haven't worked with a trans man before either.
Take a walk on the wild side. This is a store that's been around for decades in Toronto.
Yes.
Doing essentially what you are doing. Do you know of Wildside?
Yes, I've heard of Wildside. I've never met her, Patty, but yeah, a lot of my clients have been to her store before. I know she does. She's more of a shop though, from what I'm told. I don't know if I think she does some makeup too, but what I'm told is that she's more like drag queen focused, where mine is more like that everyday kind of grab a cup of coffee. Feminization. But I've never actually met her, which is kind of weird, right?
You're both basically doing the same sort of thing.
Yeah, basically.
So I mentioned at the beginning, you have a new book. You have an ebook, Curves and Confidence, the Girly Guide for Your Unique Journey in Femininity. Talk to me about this book and what are you getting at within the pages of this?
So it's definitely, since we only have a couple of hours together during our appointments, I felt like there was just so much that we touch on that I can't get into detail with. Or there's just parts that are missing for whatever reason. And I just wanted one concise guide. Because again, a lot of what I do is about informing, advising, mentoring, when it comes to beauty and style, and even confidence. That's why I added the confidence chapter at the end. I just wanted one concise document that would kind of encapsulate everything that it is to be feminine, from chapter 1, which talks about the divine feminine energy, down right to wardrobe and covering up your beard shadow, to the confidence piece. I just wanted a go-to resource that's not, frilly or full of fluff. Like everything in those pages is meaningful information. I was careful to edit it, to, look at it from the eyes of my reader. Well, what would they want it, learn about? What interests them? What would resonate with them? That's why I talk about the energy a lot. Yeah, I just wanted a go-to resource. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everyone says, do your research. So I did a little Amazon quick research on different types of publications on this kind of topic, but nothing really hit me where it was written by an actual cisgender woman. Not that I've seen. And I thought, I feel femininity all the time. How can I love to write. How can I translate that into a communication tool, which is what this book is? Guide, it's an e-guide.
Was there a moment, was there a flashpoint that inspired the book that made you say, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to write this guide and, give it to my clients or something along that line? Like, was there a moment, was there a flashpoint that inspired Curves and Confidence?
It was definitely, it really started out as I was in a meditative state, okay? Because I do like to meditate. So in that state of being half asleep, half awake, it just came to me that, the time is now. I need to get this out. I need to write a book. This is the title. and I toyed around with the two words, curves, confidence, I made up my mind in that moment. What I was actually going through was a separation from my partner. And I thought, what a good way to let me feel worthy and alive and distracted. And I said, there is no perfect time. I'm going to get to it. And so religiously, I woke up every day and I went to my Tim Hortons cafe here and I opened up my laptop and I just started to write. Because I remember someone saying, it doesn't have to be perfect, just start writing. And I did. And then every day I showed up, every day. And it actually only took me, I started it probably end of July and I published it by November.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah.
You're a quick writer.
It just comes so naturally. It just comes so naturally to me, It would be great to do a follow-up, this time focusing more on the confidence piece. Yeah. But there really was no, I guess my aha moment was definitely in a meditative state, which I highly recommend actually, because a lot of amazing ideas brew in that state.
So you've got TikTok, you have Instagram, you have YouTube. There are a lot of people out there doing, makeup tutorials, sharing their stories. You've been doing this now for over 10 years. Do you tend to see a lot of people doing that sort of thing, like, say, makeup tutorials, but the information that they're getting, the techniques that they're using may or may not be, best case practice sort of thing. Do you see that?
I there's one that sticks out in my mind, and that's, in color theory, you want to use orange to neutralize the blue shadows of a beard. And you really need to use a corrector, which is part of the concealer family. But on not Snapchat, but TikTok, on YouTube, a lot of my clients tell me that they're using red or orange lipstick instead of the corrector. And that just spells mess all over it. Because how on earth are you going to set a waxy, greasy lipstick and then apply the setting powder and then your foundation on top? Like, that just spells disaster for me. So a lot of times they've come to me saying, I've used the lipstick method, and I'm like, wait, and I have to debunk it right there on the spot. Do not use orange or red lipstick for color correcting your beard shadow, please.
Orange or red lipstick?
Yeah.
As a color corrector?
They're just using whatever they have lying around, I guess, in their makeup kit or their wife's stash. I'm like, do not do that. It's only going to create a mess. It's highly emollient. It's not going to stay in place. You're going to sweat it off. Use the corrector. It's meant for correcting for a reason. So yeah, that's a big one.
With your cross-dressing clients, is there a common concern that they come to you with to say, can you help me with this, but especially with this one particular thing, especially to make me feel feminine? Is there a commonality?
Yes, there is. I would say eyes are a big one. A lot of the times, they can't figure out for the life of them how to put lashes on, which is okay, because even I struggle putting my own lashes on. It's very easy for me to put it on someone, but I can't do it for myself. So I get that. And my book talks about the right method of applying lashes. Lips is another one. So body hair, if you're a crossdresser and you have a partner at home, you're not going to shave your whole body hair off because their partner is going to get upset or whatever. So I have long sleeves, high necklines, opaque stockings or tights to hide the body hair, and that instantly makes them feel more feminine. So I help with that. Yeah.
And when people come to see you, is there again a commonality that you tend to see with your clients after the transformation?
Exhilaration, tears. That's when I'm like, you need to bend your head back a little bit and drain those tears before they run down your face. Elation, just pure joy, amazement. Like, I thought I could never look like this. This is incredible. I can't believe this is me. I hear that a lot. I just can't believe I'm looking at me. I'm like, that's you, feminized, but it's you. very much you. There's no filters here, Yeah, so it's always, it's a pleasant surprise after the reveal. Yeah.
When you first meet someone in person, do you tend to scan them, like especially their facial features, that sort of thing, to sort of say, we need to highlight this? Like maybe someone has great cheekbones or great eyes
Absolutely.
or great lips, and you bring that to their attention to say, you always need to highlight these aspects of yourself.
Yes. Yes, I do. I always talk through once I meet them, I could already see them feminized in my mind, because I'm a very visual person. But as I walk them through what I'm doing, which I tend to always do, it's never silent. So I'm always, teaching what I'm applying, how I'm applying it, why I'm applying it. So I do tend to, emphasize the cheekbones, the nose as well, slim it down, make it more feminine, raise the cheeks, apply the blush, the highlighter, contour at an angle towards the upper ear to give a lifting effect. So for sure. I also talk about what I don't want to emphasize, what I want to minimize, and I explain why as well. And that always varies by the facial features of the person. It's not like a one size fits all.
So here's my last question for you. What do you want people to come away with after they've read Curves and Confidence? Maybe they Google you, or and they see some of the things that you offer. They come to your website. What do you want your audience to come away with after they've experienced Jamie B?
That what you see is what you get. This is me, I'm bubbly, I'm friendly, I'm compassionate, I'm an empath, that they're not alone, and I'm here to hold their hand and walk them through their journey, whether it's something that they have been thinking about doing, or if they've had a makeover and they just weren't happy with the results, or, they want to polish up on their skills, venture out in public for the first time. I'm their girl. There's a reason why I keep in touch with all my clients. I have a forum of over 500 members, and I enjoy getting to know my clients one-on-one. So if there's an experience that's up your alley, I'm in the feminization realm, I'm the girl for it.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you.
Jamie B., thank you for your time. Well said. Well done. Well made over. Thanks for your time.
You.
Thanks for being on the show.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mark Tara. Thank you.
That was my interview with professional feminization makeup artist and stylist Jamie B. By the way, Curves and Confidence, the girly guide to your unique journey in femininity, is available on Amazon.ca, where it has a rating of 5 out of 5 stars. For more on this artist, simply visit tgcdstyletoronto.com.
Magnus Hirschfeld made the modern homosexual. He co-founded the world's first gay rights group, the Scientific Humanitarian Committee, in Berlin in 1897. But what is far more important is that he and his colleagues came up with an enormously influential concept of what same-sex desire was, what it meant, and how it fit into the wider world. If you think homosexuality is an inborn quality that cannot be changed and has a biological root, but is not an illness, and if you think gay people are a sexual minority who are born that way and who deserve legal protections just as racial minorities do, you owe those ideas to Hirschfeld and a handful of others. He was among the first to articulate that conceptual model of what it means to be gay in print in 1896.
We just heard professor, author, and historian of queer and trans politics, Lori Marhofer, reading from Racism and the Making of Gay Rights, a sexologist, his student, and the Empire of Queer Love, their powerful new gay history book, about the man who made the modern homosexual, a German physician and sexologist who died at the age of 67 in 1935. Magnus Hirschfeld.
Bill 7, to ban discrimination in employment, government services, and housing, based on a person's sexual orientation, was up for a vote at Queen's Park. Most NDP and Liberal MPPs supported the bill, but without some progressive Conservative legislators' backing, a divisive split could rack the province. 4 PCs decided to break party ranks to vote with their conscience and support Bill 7. Cabinet Minister and MPP Dennis Timbrell did it to show solidarity for his beloved brother, the well-known drag queen Rusty Ryan. And for me, a gay politician who was not yet out, I had to take a stand. We were known as the Gang of Four. I'm former Cabinet Minister and MPP Phil Gillies. The date, December 2nd, 1986, when LGBT rights came to Ontario.
And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, simply head over to marktara.com, where everything is connected, and hit the archives banner. To keep up to date with the show, check out my socials at Mark Tara. The podcast is available on all major platforms. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, we are living in days of making dreams come true, so believe in yourself, and the world will believe in you.
Hi, I'm Agnes. My new record, Magic Still Exists, is out now. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.